welcome to another episode of Analytics Unplugged. My name is Katie Wayles. I'm the marketing specialist at Buxton. Here with me today is Marissa. Marissa, do you want to introduce yourself?
My name is Marissa Olberding. I am the Director of Marketing for Blue Jays Golf and Golf Ranch, which is where we're at today.
Awesome. And this is a very different venue than what we normally do. We thought it would be kind of cool to be able to really immerse in Golf Ranch.
Yeah.
So you and I had talked a little bit about the demographics of golfers and kind of where this concept started. Mm-hmm. Can you give me a little background on that?
Yeah, so we in the golf space obviously have seen a ton of course participation. And when we say off-course participation, we think top golf simulators, even the putt-putt game is growing massively right now, which is awesome. And so you look at that as more of an entertainment type experience. And then you have traditional golf. So entertainment golf and traditional golf kind of sit on like two ends of a spectrum is what we like to say. And there was no space in between for golfers to almost have that chill, relaxed experience, but still get the feeling of playing golf. And so that's where this whole concept came is we want to cater to the golfer. And the golfer doesn't have to be someone that's, a scratch golfer that plays all the time. It could be someone that's just learning the game. But we wanted to create a space where they could do that. It's a very accessible, relaxed environment where golfers are learning the game. And so that's where this whole concept started, is this idea built upon, hey, we think there's a really, really open area to play within in between entertainment golf and traditional golf. And so we call it Golf Light. And it's a whole new category for golfers, which we're really excited about. And we think people are catching on to it.
Yeah, definitely. It's in the middle of the day here, and there's quite a few people. Like you said, happy hour and after work is normally sold out.
Yeah.
And so you and I also talked about kind of who golfs. And like you had said, you're kind of in between the entertainment and the traditional space. So do you get, I guess, some of the country club people, some of the top golf type people, and then a lot of just in-betweeners?
We get everyone. Our primary demographic is going to be the golfer. So our facility is built with technology, top tracer technology to be specific. So people come to practice their game. So our primary demographic is going to be the golfer, someone that's practicing for game improvement. But we get people that are just learning the game. We've seen a huge uptick in lesson requests. So people that are really interested in trying to learn the game of golf. Obviously, I think with Top Golf and with golf evolving, that a lot of more people are trying to get into the game, which is awesome. So we've seen a lot of beginner golfers come out and try for the first time. But I think for the most part, we do have a ton of golfers, so people that have probably picked up a club, they're bringing their own clubs to the facility, use our facilities for the most part. I'd say that's our primary demographic, but it's also totally fine if you just want to sit and have a beer and watch your friends play.
Awesome. Yeah, and we rented clubs and a bucket of balls. It's totally changed the accessibility, I feel like, of golf. It's a lot less daunting than spending, I don't even know how many hours it takes at a golf course. I think my husband says at least 6 or 7.
There are days where I've spent 5 hours on a course if you're playing slow. So that is probably very accurate on days. But it's kind of do it how you want. So experience it how you want. So the way our model works and what we really like about our model is it's paid by the bucket and not by the hour. So you actually buy a bucket depending on how many golf balls you want. And then you can share it with your friends too. So if you want to spend 30 minutes, if you want to spend 2 hours, it's totally up to you. And we think that's what makes it a lot more accessible to these people that are just entering the game, which is awesome. So there's people that do spend 30 minutes, but there are people that come here and are having a great time. They'll go buy a second bucket, they'll buy another bucket of beers, whatever it may be, and they'll spend a couple hours, but there's no time limit. I don't know if anyone's ever spent 7 hours here versus 40 movies. But hey, maybe it's up to them, right? It's up to them.
Awesome. That's really cool. I think it's interesting too that you and I have talked about, like you just said, the accessibility of the driving range and golf, that it's kind of this new athleisure almost trend.
Yeah.
And you've been in the golf world for forever.
Yeah. It's super interesting you say athleisure, because when we talked about, and my boss has just a really fun story about coming up with this idea of Golf Light. But athleisure was a huge part of that because athleisure was built by like Lululemon. It was like what they called like their athletic gear, and now it's a whole genre of clothing.
Oh yeah.
Like everyone knows what that word means, but it was all just kind of a marketing tool to build this category.
Cool. I didn't know that.
Super cool. So we talked about that a lot when we were thinking about, hey, what is this like new category of golf called? And so yeah, it is. And I always compare it a lot to pickleball because you see a lot of people like entering in pickleball, whether you're not good or you're really good.
Yep.
It's an outdoor activity that you just want to go do, participate, have fun, spend time with friends, get out of the house.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that's where we really see ourselves too, is this outdoor activity where you can go have fun, spend time with friends, and you're not having to spend a ton of money. You're not having to wear a collared shirt. Like, you can dress in golf attire if you want. You can wear jeans if you want. And that's what's really cool about Topgolf too, is they kind of started that fad, but now we're just really bringing the athleisure to it. So,
and like you said, that middle ground of the golf light. I think the way that I first found out about you guys was your YouTube channel, which is, of course, as a social media person, super interesting. And obviously as someone that makes videos. And you guys had something called like Golf Light Pearls.
Yeah.
And so tapping into, can you tell me a little bit just about how you found that unique market and kind of how that's changed?
Yeah, so we originally started this series, and I will say it's a little bit on a hiatus. We want to like revitalize it when we have a more fleshed out plan. But I'm super excited about that aspect too, because what we learn when we take over a driving range, a lot of times we see that the primary demographic tends to skew male, and males that are pretty good at golf. And so when we take over a facility, we do things to make it more approachable, like via signage, via furniture. And so there's a lot of like little touches that you wouldn't think about, that when someone comes in and is a beginner, they're not intimidated, even down to the customer service and like what our front desk staff is saying. And so with that, we've seen a huge uptick in females specifically who are trying to play for the very first time, or who are coming with friends to play for the very first time, which is awesome. And so back to the YouTube series, we got a couple of girls that wanted to get lessons for about a year and just see how they progressed coming to the range, I think like twice a week with an actual instructor. We unfortunately had to put it on a pause for a couple of reasons, but they loved it. And it was really like cool watching them progress for the 3 to 4 months that we had them. And it's something that, we're super passionate about, like growing female participation in the game of golf, something that I'm super passionate about, just because I look at myself and I'm by no means a great golfer. Growing up, really never had a ton of girlfriends to come play with me. And now I feel like so many of my girlfriends are trying to get in the sport and actually enjoying the sport a lot more. And even now bringing them out here, it's a blast. And so, I think that was a unique opportunity for us, and something that I want to continue down the road. But getting females to participate, and not just like at a very high level, but at a very casual level, something I'm very passionate about.
Yeah, I feel like it lowers that barrier of entry too, it's a lot less intimidating, because like you said, when you come up here and it's just filled with men that are good at golfing, super intimidating.
Very, very intimidating. And a lot of times you see that at standard driving ranges, right? We have that. I would say if you go to your standard driving range, that's more than likely going to be the case. And here, what's cool about it is if you come here at night, and I could be inflating the stat, but like there's 20% of the clientele is female versus probably what was 5 to 8% before. And so it's super, super cool seeing a lot more girls participate, and a lot more girls like feeling that comfortability here. And we have people that even said and commented on, like, there's a sign up front that says like, seriously, don't take this too seriously. And we use that a lot in our everyday language, because we think that's how we should be approaching like everything that we're doing from a marketing perspective. And girls catch on to that like super quickly. Like right when they walk in, they see a sign that's just like,
oh yeah, I took a picture of it already.
It's like the nerves are settled. And so it is cool. It's cool seeing that progression happen over time. It's word of mouth catches, and it's great having a lot more females enter the game through us. And it's something that, we're only going to continue growing on in the future.
Awesome. That was the next thing I was going to ask you, is how you've kind of advertised and tracked the results of that advertising. You and I had talked about the analytics that you use.
Yep.
Like, I think you said HubSpot.
We do use HubSpot.
Yep. I love HubSpot.
Yeah, it's awesome.
It's like the marketing.
Yeah,
Love
it is.
HubSpot.
It's so funny because like I think you and I talked about this too. It's like you learn something new every single day.
Yes.
And until like I probably take like a 2-year-long class, I will never know all the ins and outs of HubSpot, but I do love it.
Yeah. This is not sponsored by HubSpot, by the way.
Yeah, although it should be.
It should be, yeah. If you want to, HubSpot, please tell us. Yeah, but I guess so you're using HubSpot to track that advertising.
Yep.
And growing that female golfer world.
Yeah. So we started out, a lot of our advertising approach, especially in new markets, is just get people to come to the facility, because when they come to the facility, they're going to be able to see our differentiators and really gravitate towards that as they're trying to enter the sport. So when we enter a new market, we offer free buckets, and basically that's our advertising approach. It's just like giving people a free bucket of golf balls, just come try us out. And the free bucket really worked well here. Let me tell you. We have stopped doing that one, and we are going to change up our advertising a little bit here. We still do that in Connecticut and Kansas City, but the purpose of it has a purpose. We want to get people to come try it out, because we believe once you come try it out, you're going to get hooked.
Right.
And it only takes 1 to 2, maybe 3 times to get hooked. And so when we put that out, obviously that's a pretty big initiative to us through paid social. We utilize influencers, we utilize your standard digital advertising to promote that. But then it comes back to us. And what's really cool is we can then track the path of the customer through that advertising to get a lifetime value from that customer. And then also see like what ad's working well. Is it the static ad versus the video ad? We have 7 different versions of that video ad. Which video ad is resonating the most? Is it female golfers, male golfer? So there's a lot of like more detail that goes into it. But overall, it's super cool that we're kind of utilizing something as simple as paid advertising and getting to see the actual spend and the actual ROI that's generating for our facilities.
Cool. Because I think originally, I'm sure you and I talked about this again, that a lot of traditional golf ranges. Okay. A lot of traditional driving ranges, their website was only for just displaying the hours and the address.
Yeah.
And
that's so interesting. Sorry to cut you off. When I first started the job, I knew we needed to revamp the website. Like that's just like marketing 101, right? Like your website is your biggest marketing tool.
Yep.
And I did kind of a comp analysis of just other top tracer ranges around the world. And I wanted to see kind of how they were advertising top tracer, what they were doing on their website. And we went through just like a huge competitor analysis. And like if you have a spare time and you're wanting to look at like driving range websites, it's very interesting. Most of them are so old school, because a lot of these ranges, or a lot of driving ranges, I should say, throughout the US are mom and pop. Most people purchased them in the 90s, early 2000s, and there's not a big marketing push around them. There's not a ton of marketing in the driving range industry, which is totally fine, because they've been there for a while. They're a city or a neighborhood staple.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone tends to know that it's there. It's been there for a while, so they don't necessarily need a massive like marketing push to get golfers to come and use their facility. But the websites are very outdated. Is I guess the easiest way to describe it. And so when we took over the facility, we knew that was the first thing we wanted to do. And we're actually going through a whole nother UX UI kind of exploration.
Cool.
We stood up the website, and now we're like, we know we need to revamp it based on our new goals and what we know is working. And so we're actually now kind of in the process of exploring a whole UX UI kind of change up. Because we know what our customer wants now. We know the information that they need. So that's the most fascinating thing is how old school the golf business is. Just like taking a modern approach and like what it can do is fun and cool, and it works wonders.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And I feel like there's so much, like just the top tracer, for instance, is such a like compelling concept. Mm-hmm. Same with, redoing your inner website and things. You have all these applications like Hotjar, or like we said, HubSpot, or different tools that you can follow this customer journey.
Yeah.
And like you had said, the life cycle.
Yep.
So how did you guys, you're subscription based, right?
Yep.
How did you come to that?
So it was my two bosses' ideas. Our CEO and CFO they're two of the smartest people I know. They did a lot of research on how we wanted to price out our product. And one thing we've learned along the way is we want to stick with buy the bucket. The bucket is super important. And actually we're doing kind of a marketing, I don't want to say a rebrand, but we're putting more of an emphasis in the bucket as it relates to marketing creatively. And so one of the other things that we talked about was, we know we take price when we come to any market, when we come to a new market. So our pricing does go up just because we add in the technology, we add in the covered phase, we add in a food and beverage program. So it equates to, what it's worth. But what we've learned just through kind of this modern day consumer is that with a subscription program, we see these customers coming, gosh, I should have this stat on hand, but I want to say probably like 4 to 6 times a month.
Wow.
6+ probably could be even more accurate, but our core customers are coming at least once a week. There's some people that come here 4 or 5 times a week to practice. And so we want to reward those people, right? We want to make sure that we're doing right by them. And so that's what started the subscription program. And it started at a very base level. So right now we're at $20 a month, $30 a month, and it gets you access to pretty deep discounts on our buckets.
Awesome.
But the cool part about it is like it's going to grow in the future, right? Like that's all we have right now. We've already started talking about the layers that are going to come with the subscription program. So there's a lot more stuff that I can't talk about right now, but like it's
TBD.
It's evolving. And that's what's even cooler about it is like through that model of pricing, we're able to evolve and really pick apart what the customer wants. So we recently did a survey and we were able to see like, what does our customer truly want in the facility aside from just the technology, and how are they utilizing our facility the most? And so we can take those answers and give them more of what they want through the subscription. Right. So that's what it was the survey that we did, that's what it was primarily used for, was to take those answers, take that data, and reward our customers even more.
Awesome. I think that's huge. That's a huge part of the customer journey and the customer marketing. I know you said you're kind of a smaller team, but I think that's one of the coolest things, not to do a Buxton plug, but that we have is our customer marketing team really dives into that data, same as what you're saying, so that you're able to really meet and exceed all of their expectations. One question I have for you all is, because this is such a large facility, how do you pick which driving ranges you purchase? Do you ever build new ones?
It's a really good question. And if I had Devin, my boss here, he'd be able to give like the best answer. So they have a pretty significant list of ranges throughout the country. So I think when Devin and Michael, my CEO and CFO, our two co-founders, were building this business, I think like, if Devin listens to this and he's going to tell me I'm wrong, but he made a list of like all the driving ranges and every single one in the US and mapped them out. And I think now they've gone through it and almost given a score to each one of them. So it really is just based upon a lot of different things: demographics, proximity to a city, just courses in the area. I think there's a lot of things that factor into it, the population.
Right.
And so I know the team does a lot. And then there's certain things I know with coding, permitting, all that sort of stuff that goes into deals as well. But it's probably a mix of how does it score in relation to, the demos. Like here's a perfect example. Like you're close to the city of Dallas. You have a great population size. You have a great household income.
A lot of colleges
in
the area.
People using it beforehand. So because we buy existing driving ranges, like you can see how many people are using the facility. So that kind of gives you a gauge. What's going to happen when you take over. And so there's a lot of things that go into it. But then you have, I think, some of the little nuances and stuff that they've learned along the way, which is how quickly a deal can get done, or maybe some things that they didn't know with the city is happening, or if it's a lease, like certain parameters on the lease. So there's a lot of different factors. I'm probably like the worst to explain this part of the business.
Well, you know it better than I do.
Yeah,
So
I'm like, they're probably like gonna sit there and like face palm. They're like, oh God, Marissa, like, what are you saying?
just cut all this out.
Yeah. No, but there's a lot of different factors that go into it, and sometimes luck too. It's like what's going to come quickly. Our first facility in Brookfield was actually for sale. So that was one of the facilities that they bought. Their very first one was because it was actually for sale.
Okay.
The others that they're reaching out to are all cold outreach. So it's all like
Wow.
meet and greet, and then create that relationship, and then that relationship obviously turns into a transaction. And then depending on how the contract goes, how our diligence goes, and looking at the property, that's when that we can purchase it. So Kansas City was super interesting because it was our only facility that wasn't existing beforehand. So it closed in 2019 and then reopened once we reopened it. So a little bit different. Each driving range is it's a unique challenge.
Oh, I bet. Especially with them. I feel like they, like you had said with the tiger boom, that they just popped up everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
And so I bet it's just funny to think about how they, in the 90s and early 2000s, picked the sites. It's probably just, this chunk of land was for sale.
Yeah, probably.
And it's cheaper to buy it, and I can go golfing, and my friends could come with me.
Honestly, yeah, that's how I think they did it back then. But yeah, it's so true. Everyone was buying properties and putting in batting cages and putt-putt, and some of them are double-decker facilities or just buying land for a driving range. And so, yeah, it's crazy how many popped up, 90s, probably early 2000s. And then it just kind of sat stagnant for a while. It's just super interesting that now it's revitalizing.
Yeah. Like you had said too, with the athleisure. Like that's definitely makes a lot of sense. Now you can wear a cute little golf dress.
Golf retail blowing up, and I love it.
Brilliant. It's brilliant. I think that's about all the questions that I had. Okay. This was fun. Thanks for letting us come out.
I'm so glad you guys,
it's been a great time.
Your friends too. Yeah. This is so fun. I'm like, I love doing this.
I know, me too. This is super fun.
Marketing people, what can we say?
Yeah.
It's just like this. I'm like, we can do this all day long.
All day long. We could sit and talk about brands and consumer behavior and
honestly, yeah. If you really wanted to, like, consumer behavior is one of I was telling, because we talked about the Chipotle Orange Theory thing.
Yes.
So I was talking to my business analyst about this because we're working on like a lot of different projects right now, but we're basically filtering all of our HubSpot data like into Meta, but we're taking like who our core customers are. So like we nailed who our core customers just via that survey, and taking those people and putting it back into Meta so that we're serving ads to like people that we know like love the product.
Right.
And so we were talking about just like data and how we're going through this like data warehouse project. And I was like, did you know, or I learned this the other day, like Orange Theory follows Chipotle or something, whatever you had said. And I'm like, that's so interesting because I've always thought like there's so many similarities, and I think it's like between baseball, and I'd love to know how many people like would buy a Rangers ticket, would come play golf, or like come to the driving range, like vice versa, because I think it's a unique. Like those two just have so many similarities, and I was like, I think like this could work this way. And like there was a couple other like tangents that we had gone on, and it's very interesting conversation that we had. And I'm like, we talked about all stemming from the Orange Theory Chipotle thing. I was like, super interesting.
Oh yeah, if this is something that we decide to put on the Orange Theory and Chipotle thing that we were talking about was on another episode of Analytics Unplugged. I interviewed Dave Sims, who works with Orange Theory in Austin, Texas. And he had told me that there's a huge overlap with Orange Theory customers going to Chipotle after they work out. And he had said the same, that now you'll notice that they're on every corner. They're just in cahoots with each other. But yeah, so that partnership and just figuring out what other brands your customers like. And I think, and the meta attributes is super helpful too. You learn some things about your customers you didn't know before. And a lot of the overlap. We had also talked about dogs and organic food. That people that own dogs are also people that buy organic food. And it's just interesting to think of those nuances and that crossover that, especially with advertising and marketing, that you can utilize and really tap into that you weren't able to before.
Exactly.
So it's great things ahead. Do you think you guys will ever use AI? You kind of do.
Yes, we will. Well, one, I use ChatGPT every day, so if that counts. I think I was using it right before you guys had come. Yes, I do. I think there's a pretty big future state in what we're doing technology wise. We're building out we talked about our Ranch Pass, kind of in conjunction with that, we're building out this loyalty program. And ironically enough, Chipotle is someone that we look a lot for with loyalty. And so when we think about loyalty in its state right now, Ranch Pass in its state right now, there are two things that we can run with at a pretty basic level. But in a future world, there's an app that's going to come, and I think there's going to be a lot of cool technology features with that, but all built on Ranch Pass and rewards.
Right.
And then with AI, I will say me and my business analyst are in ChatGPT using it. I use it for marketing purposes.
Yep.
He's the one, and super smart, but he actually, with HubSpot and our POS doesn't connect to HubSpot directly. So he wrote a whole script to help basically allow the two to talk. And so now the two basically feed information to each other. And he wrote all of that via AI. He utilized AI to help him build that, which I just thought was super fascinating, because I'm just it's over my head. But I thought wow, if he can do that within a short amount of time, just by himself, what we're able to do kind of as a two-man team is incredible. So I'm excited to see this data warehouse project come to life a little bit more, because we're going to have everything sit in a warehouse and have more systems talk to each other, which is, again, in comparison to where the drive industry was before, leaps and bounds ahead of it. So it's exciting. And
just making use of that data that you already have.
100%. Because I think a lot of people, and I could be wrong in saying this, but a lot of people, especially on small teams, know that they need to collect emails, know that they need to collect phone numbers or whatever it is, because they don't know what to do with that besides email them, or text them, or whatever it may be. And so I think that's the other neat thing is we're kind of paving the way to help other driving ranges or help other golf businesses do that with small teams. And we talk about future state of the company. There is a future state where we're almost selling some of our services or our products or whatever it may be to these driving ranges. And I think it all kind of starts with us just building that out. And a lot of that is done through AI. Could I sit here and explain to you exactly how he's doing it through AI? No, I can tell you from an advertising perspective, I'm writing a lot of copy just via ChatGPT, and granted, I'm editing it, and I've had ChatGPT for so long that it's learned so much of our tone and voice that it can spit out a lot of really good copy, just because it's been with me now for so long. It's learned. But I think there's a lot more that we'll probably be doing with AI and exploring with AI, and I'm excited about it.
Oh yeah. And if it's in the right hands,
totally.
Our analysts have came up with stuff that I'm just blow my mind.
Crazy, right? That's what I say. I'm okay, I feel like I am such an amateur when it comes to ChatGPT. So I'm I need I need content for this, for XYZ. And they're I need ad copy for this video. One of the actual really cool things, and I stole this from a podcast actually, I'm very proud of this one. And it's kind of sitting in a very initial stage, but we get a lot of content from our instructors, from our teams on site. We have facilities. We want a huge part of our brand is building content. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things we're doing is taking that content and basically running it through ChatGPT to write a blog. So
cool.
All that to be said, it's this little process where I can take video content, turn it into a blog to help build SEO for a multitude of things, right? So lessons. We really want to expand our lessons program in the future. We see a huge state for golf lessons,
right?
Or a huge market for golf lessons. And so we can do simple things like that very quick, just with putting video content through this little AI system and building out a blog. Now we have a full, we don't have it running yet, but we have in the background a page that took a week to build.
Wow.
Maybe all stemming from this idea of utilizing AI to create blog content, but blog content from content that you're already producing from social. So that was actually super cool that we talked about one day and came to fruition. I'm this is great, because now I can have marketing campaigns around certain stuff and build written content from video content all through AI.
Yeah, it's so awesome.
Yeah.
I feel like it just makes our jobs so much easier. And so many.
You have more time to do a lot more stuff.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
I think I read somewhere that AI enables the creative to actually be creative.
Yeah.
So you spend more time being creative than doing all of the little tasks like transcripts.
Or like just thinking. Like I know that sounds bad because like I still take time to like think throughout the day like, creatively. But like sometimes you just like have like your brain is stuck. And so like sitting for 2 hours trying to think of like what copy you're gonna write is daunting. You're like just such a waste of time, which is like I can send ChatGPT exactly like what I want and mold it a little bit, and it may take like 30 minutes to get to what I want to, but it saves me like right there an hour.
Right.
And I feel a lot better about the product because I didn't spend, you know, however long, and I just like gave up because I was frustrated.
Totally. And I feel like when ChatGPT was first introduced, I think people had a lot of problems with it bringing in bias and like negativity and incorrect information. But as the product continues growing and there are now competitors in the space as well, I feel like it takes away some of my inherent bias.
So, and like you still see it in Google with that new AI feature, you see some like incorrect stuff, and you still have to be cognizant of like what you're reading and read through it. But like still, like for short, quick ad copy, it's a no-brainer in my opinion.
Absolutely. Love AI. I somehow always end up in these analytics unplugged. It's supposed to be about analytics.
I was going to say,
always talking about AI.
Use AI because I'm like, I could talk on and on about AI, but I like didn't know if that's a huge part of your business too. Because I think there's also a state for us, like via the website and chatting back and forth, or even just like social media. Like eventually, it's like, how are we going to use that? I think there's so many ways that I can go, but it's pretty easy or pretty on the base level right now.
Our product development team recently came out with our Buxton personas. So they used all of our data that we have, data the customers have given us, and then just the data from third parties that we partner with, and mashed it all into this giant database they call the Buxton Data Arsenal. And we use that and combine it with a new customer's data to spit out their perfect persona.
Oh, wow.
So for instance, recently we did it with, I think, McDonald's, and this might have just been an exploratory activity, but we were able to find out what price point for a meal deal is the best based on each of these unique personas.
Oh my God. I might have to ask you more questions about that. It's super interesting.
It's so interesting.
Yeah.
And it's just AI is able to pick up on all of these patterns that are so naked to the human eye.
So like how many personas did you guys have?
That's a great question. I know we have more than what you could create as a human. I mean, because I've done that.
Yeah, every marketer has like 6 personas that you like natively create in PowerPoint.
I'd have to ask my sales team, but I'm pretty sure I know that I've seen, some of the prototypes and things, and I think we actually sold our first one. So it's up and running and going right now. But it's like so much more comprehensive and uses real data. So there's no gut instinct. Yeah. It's all, and you can use your purchase data as well. It goes all into it and says, you might have thought this was your ICP, but they don't spend as much money as this ICP, which you were treating as your third-rate consumer.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure on all the nuances, but it's so much more than what we used to do with, this might be the publication they read. Yeah. They might spend time on Facebook.
Yeah. And because I think surveys are still going to be very important no matter what, because it's data that's actually coming from your customer. But even taking what you learn from a survey and applying that to just what AI has learned throughout the internet.
Yep.
Could help. And so that's what's interesting about that concept is you're almost taking outside factors and putting it in versus just what you know or what your customer and granted I know it's what your customer's telling people that's what you should do. And also it's I can learn even more about my customer if, and it's all kind of a what if scenario, if they do this and this and they're likely to purchase this too.
Right.
But it's probably fairly accurate. I'm sure it's not totally off base, but that's interesting.
Yeah. And we always say, everyone says this, that your first party data is king.
Yeah.
But
totally.
It's amazing how much context you can just get from all the other things.
Yeah, because then you can just test run some of it and with ads and stuff with just certain pools of customers.
Oh yeah. We had actually in the last episode of Analytics Unplugged, I was with Wes Marine, I was with Alok Jain, and we talked about just that you originally used to buy flowers, and you knew that this person purchased flowers, but you didn't know why. They could be there going on a first date, it could be a wedding anniversary. But then now you can see this person purchased flowers, but they also purchased a get well soon card, and they also purchased a balloon. And you can see all of that other data. It's like really creates a full picture.
Totally. And I think what's cool, because we've always talked about like Spotify Wrapped, right? Like they like set the mark when it comes to like how can you make data cool for the consumer. And so like again, like when we look at like what our future says, it's like we want to tell a story. It's like, how many golf balls have you hit this year? How many hot dogs have you eaten? How many like
I don't know if I want to see that.
How many times did you play like Pebble Beach? And like there's so many things like here that like we can use to tell a story of our customer in a fun, unique way. And like we're not there yet by no means, but like that's like using data in a consumer way. And I think it's a really cool way that Spotify has like perfected.
Make data cool again.
Right, exactly. And what's really cool is like every year, like you're like on pins and needles, like waiting for your spot. It just gets better every year. And so I think we've talked a lot about that as like where we see ourselves in the future is how we can utilize customer data in like a consumer facing way, and then also like how we can use it behind the scenes to just like make our products better, make our technology better. And when I say technology, we can't necessarily make Top Tracer better because it's a Topgolf owned product, but we can make our app better, or we can make our ranch pass subscription model better, can better price and set a better offer in new markets, whatever it is. And so it is very interesting, but
it's super interesting.
I thought about Spotify yesterday too, because I was like, ooh, I've been listening to this playlist a lot. Like, I got to change it up.
Yeah,
because this is not my number one. Like at the end of the year, it's like crazy because like the other thing is like now you're thinking about Spotify like all year long. It's like what they've done is awesome.
Oh, it's amazing. I literally have multiple Spotify accounts. I kicked my family off of mine. My husband has his own now because I don't want him to mess up my Spotify Wrapped.
No, right?
And their daily mixes.
Oh, yeah.
Super good.
So good, yeah.
I find so many new artists and different music that I never would have listened to that is like, oh, wow, this is perfectly curated for me.
Totally.
What a concept.
No, they're awesome. And so I think that's the one thing that like we talk about like data, like we have the ability to do it. Not in like the best way right now.
Right.
But, like we will be able to do it in a really cool way. And that's something that I just like get super excited about.
Me too. And it's like you said, it's kind of hard to communicate that to the consumer.
Oh, it is.
Because we're, as data nerds, we can talk about it all day long. We can talk about, I mean, I can't get into like the numbers and things. Those are the analysts.
Yeah.
But
I get a marketer. I'm a marketer.
Yep.
Not
even a marketing analyst. But yeah, it's just fascinating. I think that's a cool part of our job as marketers, just to like communicate to the consumers. This is what we're doing, and this is why it matters to you.
Yeah, totally. And then that's the other thing too, is like we talk a lot about like one of the interesting points that came up on our survey is like people really actually want. We call it game improvement, and you can say it instruction lessons, however you want to say it. We kind of categorize it as like game improvement because it goes with the game as well. As like a lot of people just like want to get better.
Yeah.
And so it's seeing that it's like, okay, like with data now, and like you can see that like through the course and like how you're playing, stuff like that. But with Top Tracer, there's obviously that opportunity to see like your progression throughout the year. And so then comes like a top of that conversation to like, how can we as marketers turn that into a really cool story as well?
Right.
And I haven't figured that out yet, because that's just like a whole nother thing that I think is really awesome. It's just like taking this like game improvement and telling a story around like your progression in the game, because there's really not another, like you can't do that with any other sport aside from just like looking to see if you've gotten better, or like going and playing a game or whatever.
Yeah, competing.
But here it's like you can actually physically see yourself progress just by like the length of the distance of the shot, the carry, all the stats that Top Tracer provides. And so that's what's really cool is like you can actually like physically see it. Yeah, that's so cool.
And all the capabilities.
Yeah, right? Like that's what you think about is like there's so much that becomes of that from a marketer specifically.
Yeah. It's interesting. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
I don't know how much of this will make it into the episode.
I was going to say, I'm like, we just gone on and on.
Right. Well, maybe we'll chop it out.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, however you
We'll get creative with it analytically.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
Thank you for joining us on this episode of Analytics Unplugged.
To learn more about Buxton, visit our website at buxtonco.com.